Welcome to Cosmo Talks. I'm Petra. In this episode, we explore the human as a holobiont and how you can be a good host to your microorganisms. Because together you form a fascinating ecosystem. And when the interaction is right, when the crosstalk runs smoothly, you flourish. Imagine this. You wake up in the morning, you feel tired, a little irritable, your digestion is off, and you think, something is wrong with me. That feeling is real, but it doesn't come from you alone. What if that feeling also comes from the trillions of microorganisms living in and on your body? What if they knew hours earlier that something had shifted and only now are you noticing? Today, you'll discover why you are never alone. Literally never. And why that's the best news you'll hear this week. You are an ecosystem, a living network of human cells and microorganisms that constantly communicate with each other. Those microorganisms, the bacteria, the fungi, the viruses, are not intruders. They are not enemies to fight. They are your oldest partners, and without them, you simply don't function. In science, we call this the holobiont concept. The word comes from the Greek holos, meaning whole. A holobiont is an organism together with all of its associated microorganisms, functioning as a single unit. So you're not just human, you are human plus microbiome together, and the numbers are staggering. An estimated 38 trillion bacteria live in and on your body. That's comparable to the number of human cells you have. You carry around 1.5 to 2 kilograms of microorganisms with you, and their combined genetic material, the microbiome, contains 100 times more genes than your own human DNA. Since the pandemic, many of us have become afraid of bacteria. Disinfect everything, keep your distance. But here's the reality. The vast majority of your microorganisms are not your enemy. They are your partners, your housemates, your colleagues. Picture the community in your gut as a bustling city. You have the hardworking citizens, the good guys, who produce vitamins, train your immune system, and even make neurotransmitters. You have the criminals, the bad guys, pathogens that want to cause harm. But in a healthy city, they're kept in check. And you have the opportunists, the ones that are normally quiet, but seize their chance the moment there's chaos. The difference between health and disease? It's not the presence of bad bacteria. It's the balance of the whole. And here it gets fascinating. Those microorganisms talk to each other. Scientists call this quorum sensing, literally sensing the quorum. Bacteria produce signaling molecules and listen to how many of their own kind are present. Only when there are enough of them do they take action. The good bacteria use this to cooperate. We're enough now. Let's produce that anti-inflammatory substance. The bad ones use it too. We're enough now. Time to attack. This is crosstalk at a new level. Not just communication between you and your microorganisms, but communication among the microorganisms themselves. And you set the conditions in which those conversations take place. When you eat well, sleep well, and move, you give the good bacteria a voice. When you're chronically stressed, eat poorly, and sleep too little, the opportunists get their chance to take over the conversation. This is what we call crosstalk, the continuous communication between you and your microorganisms. It's not one-way traffic, it's a dialogue. You influence them with what you eat, how you sleep, how much stress you carry, and they influence you with the substances they produce. Take serotonin, for example, the so-called happiness hormone. About 90% of it is produced in your gut, largely under the influence of your gut bacteria. Your mood is, quite literally, a co-production. When this crosstalk runs well, you flourish, your energy is stable, your recovery is smooth, and you're resilient. At Cosmo Group, we've been working since 2007 to understand this crosstalk. We started with genomics, with human DNA. Like many at the time, we thought, if we understand the genome, we understand health. But that turned out to be wrong. The genome tells you what can happen, not what does happen. Two people with identical genetic makeup can have completely different health outcomes. So we added layers, the microbiome, the oral microbiome, and finally the metabolome, the actual metabolic products that arise from the interaction between you and your microorganisms. Only then did we see the full picture, not the separate parts, but the communication between them, the crosstalk. We've now analyzed more than 8,000 cases, 6,000 of those from elite sport across 117 different disciplines, from marathon runners to archers, from cyclists to judokas, and 2,000 from the general population. What have we learned? That variation is not noise, but information. That health is not a fixed point, but a range. And that your microbiome doesn't need to be identical to your neighbor's to function optimally. Here's the real shift in thinking. You are not the owner of a body you have to maintain like a car. You are the host of an ecosystem. And just as a gardener doesn't force every plant to grow, but creates the conditions in which growth becomes possible, you can create the conditions in which your ecosystem flourishes. I grew up among flowers myself. My parents were flower growers. And what I learned there is that flowers don't bloom because you step in when they wilt. They bloom because you care for them in advance, for the soil, the water, the light. The same is true for your body. Health is not repair after the fact. It's proactive care along the way. And that starts with one simple realization. You are never alone. Your trillions of guests are always there. The only question is, are you a good host? Here's your first biohack, and it's surprisingly simple. Eat 30 different plant-based foods this week, not per day, per week. Vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds, herbs, legumes, it all counts. Why? Because diversity in your diet leads to diversity in your microbiome. And a diverse microbiome is a resilient microbiome. Research from the American Gut Project showed that people who eat more than 30 different plants a week have a significantly richer microbiome than those who eat fewer than 10. Start small, count what you eat, and see how quickly you reach 30. This was Cosmo Talks. Remember, you are an ecosystem that responds, and that's good news, because every moment is a new opportunity. Want more insights, stories, and applications? Find us at cosmogroup.eu and on social media. Until the next episode.